Matthew chapter 10, verse 39, Jesus says, "Whoever finds his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life for my sake will find it." We can think of many small-scale examples of this kind of truth in everyday life. Think of the musician lost in her music, yet at the same time most fully herself. Or think of the athlete pushed beyond their limits but finding new strengths they'd never known before. Or think of parents sacrificing everything for their children and discovering who they really are. Or think of the soldier losing themselves in the identity of the unit but then knowing themselves for the first time. These we might consider as small-scale instances of Matthew 10, verse 39, losing your life in order to find it. But these are only instances of that greater truth because they are echoes of true losing and finding. Of course, the original pattern of losing life to find it, well, we could date it from before the beginning of time itself. As Jesus says in John chapter 10, verse 17, he says, "The reason my Father loves me is that I lay down my life only to take it up again." This is a mind-blowing truth. The Father has always loved the Son. The love that they have shared in the unity of the Holy Spirit defines the very being of God. And here in John chapter 10, Jesus links it in the most profound way to the laying down of his life, only to find it again. Let me put it this way. The eternal love of God is cross and resurrection shaped. And the cross and resurrection manifests the eternal love of God, in which Jesus loses his life in order to find it. Therefore, losing your life to find it is a very ancient path. It is prehistoric in the ultimate sense. Before there was a world, there was the Son gladly yielding up his life to the Father in the power of the Spirit. There was the Father generously pouring his life into the Son by the Spirit. And in this other-centered spiritual communion, the Father and the Son find themselves by losing themselves. So as the Son submits to the Father, so he finds his identity as the obedient Son. As the Father commits everything into the hands of the Son, so he finds his identity as the loving Father. As the Spirit empowers the Father and the Son in their sacrificial love, so he finds his identity as the communing Spirit. The Trinity is a community of persons who find their lives in losing them. This is the love that preceded and produced the universe. So when the Father sends the Spirit-filled Son into the world, that's the kind of life that he reveals, a life of self-giving. And Jesus calls us to join in. Not in an abstract sense, but very concretely, we are to lose our lives for his sake. In this life, there are a million things that ask us to lose our lives. They do it by promising to give us life. So our careers promise to make us somebody, but in the end they only take. Success, fame, money, power, respect, even human love offer us life, but they only end up in making us lose our lives. Jesus tells us to take a different path, his path. The path of the cross and the resurrection. Instead of grasping at life on our own terms and watching it crumble between our fingers, Jesus says, lose your life to me and you'll receive it back with interest. Rather than climb the greasy pole and then tumble down, Jesus says, give up your own schemes and I'll raise you up. While the world aims at life and ends up dead, Jesus says, die to yourself and receive new life. This really is the way to find true life. Lose it. We all know it to be true. It's the way of the musician, the athlete, the parent, the soldier. It's the way of God's own life in eternity. It's the way of Christ in death and resurrection. So today, how are we going to live? Grasping, taking, stealing, looking out for number one? Don't. You'll only lose yourself. Instead, hear the word of Christ again. He says to you, whoever finds their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for my sake will find it.